So, about this Tamir Rice case, there was no indictment, and here are a few things that I believe went horribly wrong and are horribly wrong about the outcome of the case. So, um, despite the efforts of the people of Cleveland to go around getting a grand jury because they knew how it was going to turn out, and them um, you know, filing documents and getting other judges to basically say, yeah, what they did was wrong, and I recommend pressing charges against them. Despite all that, the prosecutor, who acts like the defense attorney, basically said that's not going to, sway what I think and how we handle this case. We're going to go by the law and the law and the law and the law. The thing about the law is that it's created, interpreted, and enforced by the same group of people. And so when those people break said law and they try themselves, or not even try themselves, but they compare themselves against the law to see if they broke it, they interpret it, because they are the ones who interpret it, they interpret it for their benefit. So they find the loopholes, they find the, oh, but wait, and they find whatever they can to get themselves out of it. And this is a clear situation of what happened. So a while ago, I read an article about two outside sources. It was a retired FBI agent and someone else. I can't remember who it was, but it was like months ago where this article came out, and they basically said what the officers did was right. It doesn't matter that Ohio is a open carry law, a state, because they are trying it against the Constitution and not Ohio state law. So that doesn't matter. It also doesn't matter that Tamir Rice was a kid, and that his gun was fake because they didn't know it was fake. That information was not relayed to the officers. So that doesn't matter. And you can't say that the officers should have parked further back and handled it that way, because that is the Monday morning quarterbacking that the law tells us not to do. So all this stuff is in an article months ago, and from when I read that, I kind of figured it's it's not going to come out. Oh, besides the fact that it took over a year to get here, yeah, it was like Mike Brown all over again. So that's wrong. So it doesn't matter that Ohio is an open carry state. It doesn't matter that he was a kid. It doesn't matter that the gun could have been fake, and it doesn't matter that they pulled up to his ankles to handle the situation. That doesn't matter. All that matters is when they assess the situation, they said, would another officer in this situation do the same thing that they did? And here's a problem with that. If you have an officer or you have a department, a police department, who've been trained the same way, I hope they would have the same training, who have been trained the same way. So you say this person did this. Oh, well, let me ask your classmate, would you do this as well? What do you think? What do you think they're going to say? I mean, they could say no. They could say no. No, I wouldn't have handled it that way. But since they're all supposed to receive the same training, and they're supposed to follow that training when they're in the field, because that's why they get trained, you would think that they would do the same thing. I would hope not in this situation. And we know that they don't, because we've seen it play out before. Which brings me to my next point of what went wrong or is wrong. Is the fact that the victim blaming. He should have been at the park. Where's his mom? Why does mom let him go to the park by himself? He's 12. And it's BB guns, and boys play with BB guns. That's what they do. They go to the park and play with their friends. That's what kids do. And so by saying that, he shouldn't have did this, he shouldn't have did that, there are similar cases where people have done the same thing or worse and have lived to tell the story. So you can't tell me that he shouldn't have done this and that's why he's dead. Because a woman held people hostage with a fake gun and had a standoff with the police, and she's alive. A man was waving a real gun in a residential neighborhood and got shot in the leg, I believe. But he's alive and he lived to tell a story. And in both situations, where do you think the police cars were? Far away from them. And they were speaking to them on the loudspeaker. Because that, to me, that seems like what you should do. You shouldn't roll up to their ankles and then shoot them before you get all the way out of the car. And if you watch the video, you know he wasn't all the way out of the car when he fired the first shot, because he fell back to the ground because he wasn't even all the way out of the door. So, and it was within 2 seconds. Another thing is that the prosecutor was acting like he was a defense attorney. He suggested that they not charge the officer. So if you have, the defense attorney is not in the grand jury. So you have a prosecutor who is supposed to be trying to get an indictment. You have a prosecutor speaking to a grand jury who's saying, don't indict him. He did nothing wrong. They have the power to present whatever evidence. There's nobody to say, wait a minute. Nope. Which that doesn't even make sense to me. And to me, it's a conflict of interest, because we know the prosecutor and police department, they know each other. They have relationships. So, and then you have this prosecutor who knows the police department, who has a relationship with them, who is supposed to be defending somebody they don't even know and maybe don't even care about. I don't get that. And the prosecutor also made a comment about it was a perfect storm of human error. So when the police mess up, that's okay. But if a citizen goes out and shoots someone on accident or messes up or does something like that, we go to jail. We get arrested. But when a police officer accidentally shot a 55-year-old woman because she opened the door, and they admitted it was an accident. So, that's okay? So we can't make fatal accidents. We can't do that. But the police can, and obviously get away with it. And then there was a chief of a police association who said, I have kids too, and they know how to obey the law. And that goes along with victim blaming. And that goes along with the should have argument, because you're basically saying, if you don't want to die, obey the law. Listen to the police officers. That doesn't really work, because there are several instances where people don't obey the law and they don't listen to police officers and they don't get killed. So there is a disconnect somewhere with that argument. That argument has no standing for me. The should have is just out the door, because if you have a situation where somebody did not obey the law or listen to the police officers and they lived, and then you have a situation where somebody did obey the law because he wasn't committing a crime, and he didn't have a chance to listen to the police officers because they rode up on his ankles and shot him within 2 seconds. So the whole should have argument is pretty invalid to me. And then there was another situation where 2 police officers of color killed a 6-year-old boy in a raid, and within 72 hours they were charged with murder. So there's quite a few things that's horribly wrong, and the people of Cleveland really did try to go around this grand jury, and unfortunately it did not work, and now we have these officers who are probably back on the force. And Loman, who from his previous job was under who said his old supervisor said he was not mentally fit to be a police officer, but this new department hired him, and then he rode up on somebody's ankles and shot him. So I'm gonna go with not mentally capable to be an officer. But you tell me what you think, and that's about it. Shame, 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 shame.